you don't have to letter your own books, but you have to try, like you should try it at least once so that you can understand what goes into it, and also sort of what you're asking for when you're on your like eighth round of revisions that are all lateral changes that aren't improving things.
Welcome to Storycomic Presents, where we interview amazing storytellers and artists. This is episode 492. I'm your host, Barney Smith of Storycomic.com, and we're excited to have with us the internationally acclaimed comic book creator, Lyndon Radchenka.
Now, you're just saying that because you're in the U.S. and I'm in Canada, right? We're international acclaimed.
Well, see, it is. You are technically internationally acclaimed, so
because you're acclaiming me. Yeah, that's right.
You have been acclaimed.
Oh, right, it's a victory already. We're done. We can just wrap this up now.
So I'm checking out your website here. So you're here to talk about the Laundrymen, and you have a lot of other titles too that are on your website. And are all of these things that you've written yourself, or some of these are like you do a part of it, or how does this work?
Yeah, so on our website, which is infinitestudio.ca, I live under that banner with artist Stephen Call. So a lot of the work that you're going to see there is from both of us. I'm a writer and a letterer. He's the much more talented artist of the two of us. And I'm here to talk about the Laundrymen. But on the website there's a number of different works by us. A couple of them are anthologies, so we are teaming up with other creatives to tell short form stories in there. But for the most part, it's the two of us. There is one example on there right now, Hero Man. That's done with a colleague of mine, Zach Schuster, different artist. That's traditionally published here in Canada. We actually traveled last year, beginning of 2024, so a little over a year ago, almost, I guess 2 years ago at this point, to the International Comics Festival in Angoulême, France, to talk about working on that book together. And I really need to add a couple more books to this website. You know, I just I had a short come out with DC Comics in the fall, and we had another book come out last year. I'm lettering a book called Death Fight Forever that's coming out with Image in February here, and so things have been a little bit crazy. I've been lax on my adding books to the bookstore there.
Well, then, so for listeners meeting you for the first time, how do you introduce yourself? Then, are you a writer, letterer, lawyer, or all of the above?
You've done your research. So I would say first off, my name's Lyndon. I'm a comics writer and letterer, award-winning letterer. If you read my bio, I am also called to the bar as a lawyer here in Canada. I'm non-practicing, and I like to tell all my friends, please buy my books so I don't have to go and work in a law firm. Is really my strongest pitch that I can give them. And then to my parents, I say, hey, it's a great backup plan, because they don't really know. They don't get it.
So then for folks that are brand new to your work, how do you describe the Lyndon plus Infinite Studio combo?
Yes. So I'm the writing side of Infinite Studio, which I share with Stephen Call, artist extraordinaire, as I said. And we do a lot of horror adjacent and science fiction work. We travel across Canada to various conventions, Calgary, Toronto, Montreal, all the major shows, Winnipeg, which is where we live. And we sell our books. We table and we sell our books by hand. We love to meet fans. We do have a couple projects that are in the works for worldwide publication. And when that's all finalized, we'll be able to talk about it in more detail. But our flagship title, we like to say, is called The Laundrymen, which is about two monster hunters who work out of a laundromat and they solve supernatural mysteries. And we published the first volume of that 3 years ago, and we're just about to publish the second volume of that. And we sort of treat each volume as a case file of the Laundrymen. So each book is about 80 pages long, and it tells a complete story. So you get to deal with your sort of monster of the week. They resolve the case, and then there's sort of an underlying mystery that they're trying to uncover from book to book. But we like to say, because we travel to shows and we meet people, when you meet people at conventions, you can't always count on meeting them a second time. So we like everyone who comes to our table to be able to walk away with a complete story so that they get some closure on their reading. And if they come back the next year, well, then we'll have more books ready for them then.
Now, explain that. You kind of mentioned already, like the synopsis is a couple of mercenary monster hunters who operate out of a laundromat.
Yeah.
So, and why a laundromat? I am very intrigued by the concept.
Well, originally, I'm going to give Stephen full credit for that. He wanted to do these couple of guys that sort of run their own small business and sort of like a Men in Black vibe to it, or like a Pulp Fiction-esque sort of vibe to it. And I don't remember which one of us suggested a laundromat at this point, but the logic really stuck because these are guys who are taking, under the table contracts from various agencies to fight monsters. And so they need a method to get all of their things clean without anyone asking any questions. Okay. So there's sort of a, for lack of a better pun, a money laundering system going on here. But underground and with all of the things that society is too scared to admit exist under the bed.
So do you play, I mean, obviously you kind of like play on the terms of the laundryman, but is there specific, did you and Steve have to research laundromats to figure out all the technology and all this kind of fun stuff that you might be able to like, did you have to like research the technology or like the settings of a laundromat and what are things in a laundromat that you could actually pivot and utilize in a monster hunter setting?
I mean, it's actually so funny that you ask that because I just was writing our third book that Steven's going to work on now that he's finished book 2. And I had so much fun coming up with some like pseudoscience in terms of like chemical names and, blood removers. And I'm trying to remember exactly what they were. It was like alien spray. Obviously this is going to be a funnier name to this when you read it, dear listener. But the idea that they could mix these various chemicals and that's what would help them get certain types of blood and like monster fluids out of their clothes and preserve things. So like there's a certain element of that sort of fantastical fun that we have. But being people who have been surrounded by small businesses for our entire lives, I've seen and witnessed the fun mundanity of what goes into like, oh, we have to do the books. We have to do the payroll. We have to like do all the boring stuff. Oh, but we have to go kill a werewolf. Like it's just, there's this great contrast between the two. So while I am by no means an expert in like the right amount of bleach you need to get out of your to get things out of your clothes, we do try and find ways to mix that into our storytelling when we think it's going to strengthen it. Absolutely.
Now, so the series is described as a perfect for fans of like Ghostbusters, X-Files, Supernatural.
Totally. Yeah. Does that date us, do you think?
No, not at all.
Okay, great.
I just got my 9-year-old and my 11-year-old daughters watching Ghostbusters, and they are huge fans.
Perfect. All right, you're exactly the type of person that we want to talk to this book about.
So where do you feel this kind of sits on because all those references we made have a level of horror to it, and they also have a level of comedy to it. Yeah. Where does this fit in that horror comedy spectrum?
So we like to describe this series as like an episode of primetime television. I don't use it in our normal list of things, but like I'm a big Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan, and there's a certain mix of that, exactly what you're talking about. There's a lightheartedness to it, and then there's also there is a dark a darker level to it. So when you're reading through this, yes, we have this, in our first book, we've got this monster mystery, and people are having they're investigating hanging bags of skin in a meat locker on one level. But on the other hand, they're making like jokes, and they're not necessarily they're using humor to sort of cope with those terrors. Right. We have a scene in our latest book, Blood of the Saucerman is what the subtitle for volume 2 is called. And these vampires in it, these are spoilers, that's totally fine. I'm just going to let you know that there's these vampires in there that have learned how to synthesize werewolf blood using alien technology. And what that allows them to do is survive sunlight. Like the sort of normal things that would kill a vampire don't kill a vampire. And so there's this fight scene towards the end of the book where they've sort of figured out what can weaken a vampire, and he stabs him with a stake in the heart, and it doesn't kill him. And frustrated, he gets up and he walks over to a chair, and he breaks off 2 of the legs. And he goes, I need to try a little bit harder here. And he goes back again at this vampire with now two stakes in his hands. So there's this, on one hand, there's a seriousness to it, but on the other hand, we're doing a monster book, right? There has to be an element of fantasy to it. Right. And the way that we've written these characters, it's just another day at the job. Like one guy, he realizes the mob are a bunch of aliens, and he walks in on them playing cards. And instead of being freaked out, he sits down and he starts playing cards with them. He says, deal me in. There's a certain level of absurdity to it. And I keep telling Steven, I feel like I'm really entering my schlocky monster era, the way that these stories are going around, but it's just so much fun. We have so much fun telling these stories. I can't wait to get this new book into people's hands. It's so much bigger and more bombast than the first one was.
Well, hey there. If you're enjoying our podcast, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support means the world to us and helps us keep this show going. We love hearing from you, so any feedback is welcome. And thank you for being a part of our podcast family and for all your support. It truly means a lot to us. Because you have monsters in there. You got werewolves, you got vampires, you got aliens. Did you have to build the world? Did you feel as though as the writer that you had to create origin stories of just these races, or are they just basically window dressing for the banter between your characters?
That's really insightful. So I like to say that the story is, we're telling a monster story, but what we're actually talking about is the limits in friendship and and found family and sort of the ties that bind us. But when it comes to the lore of the monsters, what's nice about using a lot of these public domain monsters, werewolves, vampires, these sorts of things, is a lot of people bring a preconceived expectation of what these monsters are. And so we take those and then we try and build on top of them. How can we add something new to the lore? And why that's really useful to us is because we don't have to slow down the story to explain the backgrounds of the types of monsters. So we do a lot of it. Actually, it's part of the fun of the banter between these two characters is they are always sort of trading stories about what they know about these types of monsters. Oh, I thought you had to shoot werewolves with silver. No, well, you can feed it to them instead. Or there's all of these sorts of, I think in the first book I make a joke about a succubus and the joke's cut off by the action. And to answer your question, all of the above. We make it up, but we also add on top of the things that already exist because that makes it relatable to our own world in a certain respect. And it really helps people come into the story a lot easier.
You're a 2-time Sequential Magazine Award winner for favorite letterer.
Yeah.
What does good lettering mean to you when you sit down on a page?
It's a good question because I think lettering has changed in certain respects in the last couple of years. My opinion of a good letterer is someone who's able to interpret the intention of the writer's script and find a way to illustrate that intention over top of another artist's artwork in a way that doesn't obfuscate that artwork, sort of stays out of the way and matches the art style and makes it look as though that artist inserted those balloons and the font style and sound effects themselves. So on a certain level, we like to call lettering an invisible art, because if you don't notice it, then it means you're doing your job. It means you're not drawing attention to yourself. But there are moments, and a skilled letterer will recognize when it's time to draw attention to the lettering. You know, whether it's a great sound effect or whether they're weighting a word in a specific way, even on a line break, or a use of a bold word, changing your font size so that a word is emphasized. All of those things, I think, go into being a skilled letterer. And from another creative side, I think that lettering is something that all comics writers should learn, at least in theory, how to do, because you get so good at the spatial awareness of the words you're using on the page. You realize when you're being too wordy and you're taking up space and you're going to block that beautiful art that that people have come to see, because when people pick up a book and they buy it for the art, we like to say, and then they stay for the story. And it's the writing and the art together are what gets someone to come back. And so I've found, as a writer, the ability to letter my own work and to understand how lettering works is sort of this superpower that I wish all comics writers had the sort of drive to pick up. You don't have to letter your own books, but you have to try. Like, you should try it at least once so that you can understand what goes into it, and also sort of what you're asking for when you're on your like 8th round of revisions that are all lateral changes that aren't improving things. And the other side of it is, by being a letterer in a way that's different, something that's different about being a letterer than a writer is how involved you can be in the community. I've worked with so many amazing artists and writers and colorists as a product of being a letterer in ways that I wouldn't necessarily be able to as a writer. Because as a letterer, you can jump between different projects and you can be on a number of different books at once. And it's been such a great way to participate in the community and build a network of comics creators that I'm friendly with, and like, we know each other's names, not just our online personalities. And it's a great way as a writer to meet other artists that you may want to that you may want to work with. There's just so many benefits to that. And I was lucky enough that I won this award through Sequential Magazine twice. But it's a team, like, making comics is such a team sport that I'm just so grateful for the people that I've met doing it. And I'm so excited for the super awesome, cool projects I've got to work on. I mentioned earlier, I just finished working on a book called Death Fight Forever not that long ago. And it's written by Andrew McLean of Headlopper. And there's this cast of amazing artists that are on it. And that book's coming out from Image in February. I think that first issue comes out February 18th. And it's this like bombastic 90s video game inspired, like, super bright colors comic book. And it's so different from the type of writing that I'm used to doing. And this type of, like, Laundrymen is like a dark, gritty, fun, but like fairly grounded comic. And this is this like explosive, super kinetic, energetic comic. And, I got to do a whole different style of lettering that I wouldn't have otherwise been able to do. and be exposed to professionals that are, I feel are so above me and I have so much to learn from. So I'm rambling now, but my short version of this is if you're a comics writer, you need to learn how to letter. It's like the superpower of the industry.
When you read other people's comics, can you turn off that lettering brain, or are you always noticing like kerns and balloon shapes and
and
tails?
I am. But what's great about that is it's a great way to learn and see how other people are doing things too. I feel like I'm always trying to grow and pick up tricks in that space in a way that's a lot more not tangentive, but you can. It's easier in my mind to pick up a lettering improvement than it is to pick up a writing improvement, because I can see it on the page in front of me. You can see exactly what a person's done in a way that's a lot more concrete than like an abstract thought of how someone did something in their writing. At least for me, where I am right now. But yes, I do notice how other people are doing things. There's sort of a shine that's come off that, but it also makes you appreciate the craft even more because you're seeing all the different stages that go into it.
So as you said, book 1 is available now on Infinite Studio. They can get the Laundryman, The Life Thief. That was the first book. And then you're talking about the Kickstarter that's coming out, the Laundryman book 2. You mentioned it earlier. It's an ongoing series. How many do you and Steve see an end to this? You're planning on 20 issues, 30 issues? I mean, where does is it so bringing up the issue of like Supernatural and then also Ghostbusters? Is this something like Ghostbusters where there's going to be like good finite storylines, or is it going to be like Supernatural where there's like
where it never
15
ends?
Seasons?
So it's funny. Steven and I live in Canada. We're very fortunate that Canada has a system that supports the arts. And so Stephen and I's first 3 volumes of the series were funded by various levels of government here. So we have been paid to make them. Those books are coming out no matter what, which is great. It's super exciting. It really takes the stress off us in that sense. It doesn't pay to print the books, but it pays like a page rate to make the books, to give us time off of work to make the books. So we're going to do 3 for sure of those. Before the next Laundrymen volume comes out, am working on a spin-off book that follows right after Blood of the Saucerman, which is the book that's on Kickstarter starting February 2nd. And that book's probably going to come out in a year or so, with the next Laundrymen volume coming out a year after that. In our plans, we currently have a 4th volume conceptualized and sketched out, and it is going to resolve many of the storylines where we've been building up across the first 3 mainline volumes. So there's going to be sort of a sunset, I call it a sunset point, built into that book so that we can finish the important storylines that we started, give Stephen an opportunity to draw something that isn't the Laundryman for a while if he wants to, and give us time to recoup or regather our thoughts and think about where we would want to take those characters next, if there is a place to do so. Because like you say, with series like Supernatural that never end, I really felt that Supernatural had a great ending after season 5. Let's try and shoot for our season 5. So there's one hand where we don't want it to go on for forever, but I also am a strong believer that, and I think I'm quoting Todd McFarlane when I say this, but if you can reach 50 issues of a book, which, if I'm being clear here, each Laundryman book, think of it as 3 issues, because that's how we've structured it. So it would be like 13 books. If we could reach 13 books, that would be amazing, because then I think you can really build something with some lasting power.
Right.
But there needs to be the juice there. So I would love to, but I also don't want to shortchange our readers, and I don't want to water down the quality of the books and the quality of the story that we're telling. So right now we're taking it one book at a time, And if we can take it that long, we absolutely will. But we're also realistic about how stories work and when things have overstayed their welcome.
Talk to us a little bit about the Kickstarter itself. To make this an evergreen podcast, that people watch this like 3 years from now.
Yeah.
What did they miss in the Kickstarter, and where can they buy the book?
So right now, the Kickstarter lives at laundrymen.ca. That's a website that we own and are going to own until the internet shuts down, which at the rate we're going might be in 3 years. But at that website right now is the Kickstarter for Laundrymen books for our Laundrymen 2 campaign. And what we're offering, and you have missed out on this now, dear listener, 3 years from now, is the first 2 books being available to order. So you can order just the second book if you already have the first one, or you can order books 1 and 2 at the same time. And we've got digital tiers. We have our standard tier. We have our signed tier, and then we have at the higher level there are book bundles. So you can get all of the books that Stephen and I have worked on together. You can get all of the books that Stephen and I have worked on, period, which includes our various anthologies that we've worked on, the DC Comics anthology that I worked on, and a number of add-ons so that you can sort of customize the book bundle you're interested in if you want. So that's what we're running for 28 days, February 2nd, 2026 to March 2nd, 2026. If you are listening to this and it is after that date, laundrymen.ca is going to link to our Infinite Studio website, which is also going to have, by the time this comes up, because I told you I've already slacked on this, all of the books we've made available for purchase, including the new Laundrymen volume. And the plan is to continuously keep that laundrymen.ca website active, and it will either point at the current new book on Kickstarter, or it will point back at our website where you can buy all of the books that are already out. So if you have that website, you can find us no matter what date on Earth it is, as long as there is still an internet and power and people are reading books, which, as we know, is a dying art form.
So they can Infinite Studio, and you mentioned to the laundrymen.ca is another spot for it. And check. And how long is the kick? So also for to take it off of Evergreen and make it like finite. So
right now,
when is the Kickstarter begin and when does it end?
So it starts February 2nd, 2026, and it's going to end March 2nd, 2026. Perfect. And I anticipate that books, if it goes like our first campaign did, we had our books by the middle of April, and everyone had their books before June. That is again the hope. We don't want, I got a Kickstarter update not long ago from a book that I backed 3 years ago, saying, "Hey, we're almost ready to print." This book's done. By the time you're listening to this book is done. It's ready to go to the printer. We're just waiting to see how many copies we can afford to print, which is what the Kickstarter is partially for. How many books we can get our hands on. And then we're going to fulfill those after. So it should hopefully be pretty smooth. My only slight wrinkle is that my son is scheduled to be born on May 3rd. And so I'm really hoping that the books are in and we have our fulfillment done before that. Otherwise, Stephen is going to be doing it on his own, and it's going to take slightly longer.
Right. Perfect. Lyndon, you're going to have to come back on when you have another book coming out. What do you do this yearly now? Is that?
It's probably going to be before that. But next time I will bring Stephen, who is so much better spoken than I am and much better looking. So it'll make the whole conversation more fun, and he can talk about all the things that I do that drive him crazy. But I know that we would both love to be back. This is so much fun, and I really love your background. I've been checking out all the books behind you. It's been great. It's been awesome.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you so much, Lyndon.
No, thank you so much, Barney. It's been such a joy. I really love, like I said, I've loved listening to your conversations of guests past. So I'm going to keep doing that. And I hope that in 3 years, you're also still doing this. It'll be like episode, 900 at that point?
Something
1200?
there, yeah.